of time here real quick. Diamond's Log, Arc, Dag, 2015-1-9. This is Jerry Diamond. If you are listening to this, you are the remnant. I want to start by reading a little bit from a letter. A woman from the East Coast has lupus, some other issues. If you're a praying person, please pray for her. I would love nothing more than to see this lady and her mother be able to make it out here. They're pushing for war, causing it, frankly, and at the same time taking us for fools by fear-mongering. Our rights as citizens of this country are there as a protection, yet they too are being stripped away. Yet the best intentions of man, I took something out, we must keep on the watch and be continually giving. This is another thing I most appreciate about you. Jehovah told us through his word that if we have something yet hold back from our brother, then we are wrong. You give openly and abundantly. Please allow others to do the same for you, as I know you have. For your blessings will be many when you allow it. I'm going to tell you now that I am still digesting all you have sent me. I'm taking each of it slowly and prayerfully. I especially must be given time for such, due to my poor mind not being able to do as much as I could in the past. I feel strongly that there are those of us who are to know things in order to teach others. Stop and comment there. That is an absolute truth. Countless numbers of people are being led and motivated to share as much as they can, study, archive, understand, store, and spread information so that other people have it. One other comment, the fear-mongering comment. If you are listening to websites and radio shows and broadcasting shows, streaming radio, whatever, that do nothing but fear-monger and agitate, you are listening to government propaganda. That is... If nothing else, they are being foolish. If you cannot do something positive about the situation, if they are not trying to do something positive about the situation, then they are in error. But a lot of it is, and I know of one in particular, I'm not going to go into it right now because it's pretty deep, pretty heavy, and pretty widespread and pretty scary. But one of the most famous fearmongers on the planet is absolutely, in my opinion, government disinformation. So, have a plan, do something about it. If you can't do anything about it, don't worry about it. You know, there's so many of these things that there's simple solutions for. There's things that we can be doing, there's things that we should be doing, and that's just the long and the short of it. If you can't do that, don't waste your time and energy and your mental processes spinning wheels. I've talked to people that it's like listening to a tape recorder. You know, same thing every time I see them, every time I talk to them. Same blasted, stupid information. And what about chemtrails? Well, do something about it. There's things you can do. All right. As I have said, continuing, I'm still reading and also in my less able times watching your videos. Sometimes I cannot read, but I can still listen and understand. It is strange, but as you have pointed out, these are strange times we're living in. Well, then I must touch on another matter. You say in your first video that one woman called you, not in so many words, crazy. If I've repeated this, I've already done this 3 times. This is my 3rd take on it, so forgive me. My friends treat me that way. I let them. When something comes up, they send me some link. Hey, look, you were right. I tell them it's not about who is right. It's about who is awake and on the watch. If we are open to see what is around us, we will know. I told you that everything I look at keeps bringing me back to the area you too keep telling people to go to. Every report, including those directly tied to the possibility of Yellowstone going off, invasions, massive flooding from huge waves, military takeovers, resources, etc., all lead me there. And the funny thing is, I get a kick out of this one. I had no idea that the exact area, a sort of circle in my mind, was in fact a plateau. I had no clue until I ran into your work. No idea. I have listened to Joel Skousen, ex-military, etc., and it's all the same. I keep going back to that being the right area. My mother being hesitant, I looked into other areas, and the Blue Ridge Mountains on the west side of it is the only other answer I can think of. But even there, key point here, there are too many survivalists. Next sentence. Women will be raped. People will be killed. Children will be beaten and killed or taken in as small thieves and watchmen. I am not so foolish as to think that some gun or simply my faith is going to save me. No, we are all going to need to be careful and on the ready. So that's just, that last statement there. I mean, this is from a woman who's, I don't know, I would kind of assume has led a fairly sheltered life. But, I mean, we need to get real. And that's where, as I said before, I've delving way back into my past, I had the direction to read, hang on one second here, to read books that would, prepare me mentally. I never was wealthy. I never did have a lot of, capability. And so I started preparing myself mentally, and what that led me to do was, on a long-term and whole way of life basis, get out of a bad area, get out of a large city where I had lived, and go to what I would, consider my bug out location. So it's a whole way of life that we're looking at here. Change your life, change your lifestyle. Everybody thinks they have to have this, and they have to have that, and they have to have the other thing, and they got to have these comforts and soffits and whatever, all the little luxuries of life, and that is not the case. You can get by without them. I just talked to a friend last night. I mean, this, as cold as it is, he's been living in a camper, and virtually no heat. I mean, he warms himself up, gets under blanket, doesn't even have a decent sleeping bag, and he's getting tough. I know children who, one is a girl who every month of the year she has slept outside, just to get used to it and harden herself. I know another young man, about 18 years old or so, I think, who, to this point in time, and it's been down to 3, as far as I know, last time I talked with him, is not using any heat at all. So there's a reason for that. The reason they're being led to do that, because we're going to have some serious search and rescue times coming up here around a very large perimeter, and there's going to be a lot of people prepared to do that. I'm just saying that. That's just a fact. It's just a cold, hard fact. That's the way it's going to be. I have no question about that. I'm going to go into another thing in a little while. I want to get this done, and maybe I don't know. Oh, real quick here. Where did my thing go? Good grief. Oh, there it is. All right. I'll touch on this just real quick. The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. Stephen M.R. Covey. His father was Stephen R. Covey with Rebecca Merrill. And the one thing that changes everything, trust. And that's what I've been trying to get at, If I can trust you to put a spoon of food in my mouth and enough to put a spoon of food in your mouth, we're going to make it. You've got to have personal trust in yourself and in your beliefs, and that's kind of one thing I'm going to go ahead and touch on this. Personal trust, I understand, I know, I believe that what I've been saying is right, and it's like I said, it's been validated and supported by everything in the world, basically. Every discipline, every science, every bit of history, every language in every country. And I could prove that. Just look up the phraseology, the inhabitants of the land were driven inland. You'll come up with 20 or 30 times in history when invasion happened, the people went inland. The whole point of the book I'm going to be talking about, The Last Centurion by John Ringo. And if you think the book I'm reading now has some French in it, hold on to your hat. I'm just going to go off on here a little bit. A really dear friend of mine, one of the dearest friends in the world, who I've never met yet, but we're like-minded, we think alike. Woman, I'm trying to keep this glare out of my glasses here. Never met her yet. Hope I do someday. Wise woman. we both wrote on a group, a forum for quite a while, and I actually at one point I compiled her sayings, the sayings of Chairwoman Nova, and the trust that you need to have in people. I have that trust in her. She has trust in me. There's people all over this state, all over this region, all over the country that understand enough of where I'm coming from that they trust me. Okay, but I have trust in myself. I trust that I'm right. I'm trusting, what the Lord has shown me, what God has shown me. But that, it's done by the evaluation of our minds. And so that is the first step. So here's this is the little chart or little picture there, and I don't know if you can read that. That's not going to help. Hey, that's not a high enough megapixel camera now, is it, folks? All right, you can see at the bottom there, you can probably read societal trust. Above that is market trust. Above that is organizational trust. And above that is relationship trust. And in the center of it, there's a drop hitting there, and of course you get the ripples going out. The one in the middle, the first one, is self-trust, okay? So we need to have self-trust, then we need to have relationship trust, then we need to have organizational trust, market trust, and finally societal trust. Now, here's my point, and I don't think I'm going to get to 1632, sorry about that, but oh well. It's a good segue here. The issue is, and as I saw, my partner gave me that book to read, and again, tuningelement.com, you can look that up. They're products that are designed to protect you from electromagnetic frequencies, enhance your water, your drinking water, and whatnot. But you can order, if everybody wants to order that. That's a way to help me. I'm supposed to be able to. Anybody can order and me get credit and get a little bit of added income. They're high priced, but stayed in business. It's been paying my bills for 5 years, going on 6 years now. So I can't complain. It's allowed me to do 95% more than what about 20 times more than what I could have. And I've told the partner flat out, I'm about 5% of what I do. I'm doing for you. Thank you for allowing me to do a lot more than I would have otherwise been able to do. So, trust. We have to have trust in ourselves, and then we have to have trust in other people. And we have that here. We have that in our community. If I have a problem, if I need something done, if I need something, if we need to build something, it happens. My son has helped at least three people rebuild structures that burned down. One a barn and at least 2 houses, possibly 3. Another one coming up here. Somebody just lost their house right before Christmas. But anyway, so self-trust, and I'm just going to take these off. I'm not going to be reading too much. If I do, I'll put them back on. Need to have self-trust and relationship trust, and we have that, over the Ozark Plateau. I mean, there's people here that years ago I said, I need, I believe, I'm going to someday have money at my disposal to work with. Something on the order of $18 million, and I sent 5 people requests for a budget. If I gave you $1 million, what would you do with it? And these are people that I trust, because I have seen them for 10 years now doing everything that they can possibly do like I have with no resources, with virtually no money whatsoever, and spending their own money to help people. Okay? I trust those people. If I gave them $1 million, they're not going to run off on a vacation or go to Vegas, I know what they're going to do with it. And they gave me a budget, spent about $50,000 to fix the place up here so we're more efficient, internet, whatever issues, communications problems, moldy house issues, a lot of us need a new house. Some of them don't have a house. So, anyway, we have relationship trust, very deeply so. Then you go to that, to organizational trust, and we have that. We've done many things. Well-Fed Neighbor Alliance, my Sustainable Cedar County, we've done a lot of things through that. We have like I said, barn building, raising. And since I touched on that one, I'm just going to make a comment about the book that I want people to read, The Last Centurion. And if you can't, I mentioned Nova again. I said, man, this book is full of French. And she goes, well, thanks to you, I'm fluent in French. So, for good or ill, whatever there. But, like this book that I'm doing now, 1632, the section out of that, The Last Centurion, it's written by a military guy, a military commander, and like Patton, I mean, he got things done. He wasn't an angel, wasn't a saint, spoke pretty rough, so that's just the way it is. But the messages he gets across there, one of them is about barn raising. He said America is the only place in the world that has happened, ever has happened, never will happen. So the concept of having, and he speaks of societal trust, okay? When you get to the level, or if you live in a region where you have societal trust, where you have gone from self-trust to relationship trust with other people, how many people can you right now, all you survivalists out there, how many people do you trust to stand at your back? How many people do you trust, as Louis L'Amour said, that you could ride the river with them? Okay? When I say I can, when I feel I can ride the river with somebody, a man or woman, that means that, that is the highest accolade and praise that, I could possibly give, practically. Because, it's just phraseology. I've read a lot of Louis L'Amour, but Ride the River. In fact, one of the titles of his books is called Ride the River, and it's about a woman, a young girl, I think 14, Echo Sackett, who had to take a steamboat ride. But it ended up being a pretty hairy situation, so. One of the questions on the Sacketts is, how many Sacketts are there? No. Exactly how many Sacketts are there? Well, the answer is, no one rightly knows, but even one is quite a few. So, anyway, Ride the River. How many people do you know that you can trust? How big of an area do you have that kind of trust in? Can you manufacture products and get them to market? Do you have organizational trust in your group? Do you have trust in a larger organization to be able to manufacture and market goods so that you can survive, produce food, etc., etc., etc.? And then you come to the societal trust, okay? And that's what, and this with the comment in John Ringo's book, The Last Centurion, is referenced by, and it was a statement made by Alexis de Tocqueville, okay? Famous author, French guy, came over here and looked around and went like, this is weird. This is a seriously weird country. I don't remember the exact quote. That's not what he said, but it's, in so many words, it was a statement that, like, wow, this does not obtain anywhere else in the world. And so, I'm going to go into that more. I can't remember it all right off the top of my head or quote it accurately, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so The Speed of Trust, Stephen Covey, is an excellent book to read. Get those messages, through, get them into your own head. You've got to be able to trust yourself. And so when you come down to an area or a region, because what we're going to be, you're going to get this. I may be dealing with a scenario that is 2 years down the road. When I started, it was 30-some years down the road, 1980. So at least, so 35 years ago. Maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, might be, longer than that. I don't know. So, call that back later. All right. So it may be 20 years down the road, but the thing of it is that it's going to happen. We are going to see some changes. Uniformitarianism is not going to hold sway. We cannot depend on the idea of things being always as they are right now. All things being equal, Montana would be a nice place to be. And I agree. I was there. I tried to move there. I, fell in love with it. I've had 2 women write me there and say, this is what I got going here, and what should I do? And I just said, if I were you, I'd stay there. I'd die there. It's just about as close to heaven as anywhere I know of on earth. For me, I grew up in the Rockies. Beautiful area. So, Idaho. So that is, all things being equal. Well, all things are not going to be equal. You've got little minor issues like Yellowstone, New Madrid. You've got Islamic State. You've got changes happening that are going to affect this country sooner or later. We've got a continually, increasingly tyrannical government to deal with, and to me that's going to be like a warm-up. Like not that big of a deal. People are really, really terrified of the government because of all the government propaganda terrifying you of the government. I mean, hello, what the hell do you think they're doing? What do you think Waco was? Things like that. Randy Weaver. Cow people, knuckle down, live in fear, live on your knees, so I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Steve Voss's song. So, yeah, it's kind of, I think you're getting the idea of what I'm trying to say. Sorry to be rambling, but I'm just a winging it deal, so sorry about that. We need to have trust. We need to have trust in other people. We need to have trust over a large enough region to face what is coming at us. And like I said, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't make any difference. We're going to see some earth changes. We cannot depend on things as being, Latin saying, ceteris paribus, something like that. I don't remember. But all things being equal. Ain't going to be equal. The geological construction of the United States is changing as we speak. Worldwide, the earth is changing as we speak. We're seeing massive amounts of increases in earthquakes and volcanoes, and, we're going to see more tsunamis. We're going to see more weird storms. Some of that is going to be generated by man. Some of it is just going to be, the earth is reaching a point where it's going to be making some changes in life, in our life. So that's just the way it is, Get back to the point about Montana, it's a border. You're on the border, and borders are not going to be a good place to be. The southern or northern, I don't know which one's going to be worse, but they're both going to be bad. We're being invaded as we speak. We have been being invaded for many years. We've been, sold out by the people who are supposedly our servants, and like George Washington said, fire, is a great servant but a fearful master, and that's what we've got going. And what we've got coming at us is some fearful fire. So I'm not going to, stress out about it or worry about it. I mean, it's going to happen. Of course, I'm a little bit less in a situation of stress less than most people when you're out there around this country and other places. So going around here, but you need to be in a region where you have people around you that you can trust, who rather than taking your life will give their life for you. Wouldn't that be nice? To have somebody that you can trust to lay down their lives for you. And that happens in military. We just watched the Fury. The one guy, popped on a grenade inside the tank to cover it. But, things like that happen in warfare. But to know that you can trust someone, you can ride the river with them, you can stand at their back, whether it be a knife fight, sword fight, or a gun fight, that they'd stand at their back and stand right at your back and defend your back, protect your back, instead of stabbing you in the back. So, long story short, survivalists are looking at, with that mentality, it's a kill or be killed situation, and that's not always the best option, and very rarely is it the best option when you're talking about your friends being around you. So I think that's about it. I got 24 minutes here. Sorry to ramble. Stephen Covey, The Speed of Trust. Keep reading 1632. I'll get back to that. Maybe I'll read it here. do another cast if I have time. All right, this is Jerry Diamond signing off. And as always, if you're listening to this, you are the remnant.